The wind howled like a warning across the vast white hills. Snow clawed at her face, stinging her cheeks until they turned frostbitten blue. She stood barefoot before the heavy oak door, hair tangled, breath trembling, voice breaking against the blizzard. "Please, let me in." Inside, lights glowed warm and golden, spilling laughter through the frosted windows. Crystal glasses clinked. Their laughter rose cruel, sharp, echoing off marble walls. Through the glass, she saw him, Ryan Hale, her husband standing close to his mistress, a woman in red silk holding champagne. His smirk cut through the glass like a blade. The lock clicked. The sound was small, but it ended everything. She pressed her frozen hands against the pane, whispering, this was her home. Her home. But to him, she was a trespasser, a beggar left in the storm. He turned away, whispering something that made the mistress laugh louder. Outside, the white fury raged. Inside, they toasted to her absence. And as she sank to her knees, snow burying her footprints, she realized the cold wasn't the worst part. The worst part was knowing he'd done it on purpose. What Ryan didn't know, what no one in that glowing house understood, was that the home he'd locked her out of still belonged to her, legally, secretly, entirely. And when this storm was over, the woman he called worthless would return not as a victim, but as the owner of the $80 million estate he thought was his. Because tonight, he locked out his own downfall. Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, please click subscribe. Every single click helps us tell stories of courage and truth. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. Because when we share these stories together, we remind each other that even in pain, we can rise. The wind howled through the long marble driveway, carrying shards of snow that stung like knives. Emma Hale's fingers were frostbitten, trembling as she pounded on the heavy oak door. "Ryan, please, open the door." Her voice broke into the blizzard, lost beneath the white fury of the night. Through the frosted window, she could see them. Ryan Hale, tall, sharp-jawed in a silk shirt, and Vanessa Cole, his assistant turned mistress, wrapped in red satin, holding champagne. Lights glowed warm and golden behind them. The scene looked almost royal if not for the cruelty dripping from Ryan's smirk. He mouthed one word through the glass. Pathetic. The lock clicked. That small sound was louder than the storm itself. Emma froze. Snow clawed at her face as if the night itself wanted her gone. Her knees buckled, but she caught herself, whispering, this was her home. Her home. She had spent 7 years polishing its railings, tending its gardens, hosting dinners that made him look like a king. And now, she stood outside it like a trespasser, like a beggar in her own life. Inside, their laughter rang out, mocking every shiver. Mrs. Grant, the elderly neighbor across the road, peeked through her curtain. Her eyes widened, her phone clutched tight. She wanted to help but feared Ryan's reputation, his wealth, his power. The man owned half the town through Hale Group Holdings. She whispered to herself. He's gone too far this time. Emma pressed her hand against the frosted glass, leaving a pale mark. She remembered the last words he said before storming out that morning. You don't need a job anymore. Focus on the house. Focus on me. At the time, it sounded like love. Now it felt like control. Her reflection in the glass looked unrecognizable. Small, invisible, worthless. She had let him decide what she wore, where she went, who she called. He had monitored her phone, questioned every purchase, and called her ungrateful when she resisted. Slowly, he'd turned love into obedience, trust into gaslighting. The storm worsened. Her lips turned pale, her hands raw. She tried again, tapping the window. Pain, whispering, Ryan, please, it's freezing. You can't do this. But Ryan only turned to Vanessa, brushing her hand with his. They both laughed as she sank to her knees, humiliated, erased from the warmth she once created. Then the pain dulled. The cold began to numb her completely. But before her mind faded, she saw something, a painting above the dining room mantel. It was her late grandfather's portrait. His eyes seemed to stare back at her through the window, almost alive. A memory flickered. His voice years ago, gentle but firm. Emma, if the world ever turns against you, remember what I hid for you. The deed protects more than just walls. The storm nearly killed her, but that memory sparked something stronger than fear. She looked up once more, whispering into the snow. "You'll regret this, Ryan. You took everything from me except the truth." Somewhere deep inside that mansion, buried under forged documents and legal lies, a secret still bore her name, and it would soon destroy him. The dining hall gleamed with silverware and crystal chandeliers, but the air inside was sharp and cold, colder than the storm that would come weeks later. Forks clinked softly, glasses sparkled with champagne, and fake smiles stretched like thin glass. Ryan Hale sat at the head of the long table, smirk fixed, power radiating from his every move. Vanessa Cole, his newly hired assistant, sat beside him, her red dress glittering under the light, like a queen in a palace built on lies. "Emma," Ryan said, swirling his drink, "your parents and I were just discussing your future." His voice was calm, too calm. That tone always meant danger. Emma, seated quietly beside her mother Linda Rivers, forced a smile. "My future?" Ryan leaned back, eyes glinting. "You don't need to worry about business anymore. You've done your part. From now on, focus on the house. Focus on me." A nervous silence spread. Her father, Charles, a man who once adored Ryan's ambition, stared down at his plate. Neither spoke. Neither defended her. Vanessa's red lips curved. "He's right, Emma. You've been so stressed lately. You deserve rest. Maybe you can start painting again?" Her tone was sweet, mocking every shiver of emotion Emma tried to hide. Emma looked around the room, the grand ballroom where they once hosted charity galas, now filled with strangers wearing masks of loyalty. "So that's what this is about?" she whispered. "You're cutting me out." Ryan laughed, short and cruel. "Cutting you out? No, my love. Just giving you freedom." His hand brushed Vanessa's under the table, quick, careless, but deliberate. The lights glowed warm and golden, but inside, Emma's world dimmed. Her parents exchanged uneasy glances. Ryan's words kept echoing. "Every penny you have comes from me anyway." That wasn't true. Deep inside, Emma knew something he didn't. Her grandfather's legal documents, the original property transfers, still listed her maiden name. But Ryan had taken over every account, every signature, every transaction. 2 days earlier, she had caught him standing in his study with forged papers, muttering to Vanessa, "Once these are signed, she's finished." But when she confronted him, he called her unstable and paranoid. Emma's hands shook. She stared at her father. "Dad, is this what you agreed to?" Charles cleared his throat. "Ryan just wants what's best for you." The words stung more than the betrayal. "So, you'd rather sell your daughter's name for comfort?" she said quietly. Ryan's smirk widened. "Don't make us choose between you and survival." The table fell silent. Vanessa sipped her champagne, eyes glimmering with victory. Emma stood, pushing her chair back slowly. "You're all making a mistake." Ryan's voice followed her like a knife. "Maybe this will teach you obedience." Her chest tightened. She looked at her mother one last time. "Mom, if you stay silent, one day you'll watch him destroy everything you love too." Emma walked out of the dining hall, the sound of her heels echoing like a countdown. Outside the frosted window, the wind howled faintly, a whisper of what was coming. Inside, Vanessa leaned close to Ryan and whispered, "She still doesn't know the estate's still under her name." Ryan's smirk froze. "What did you say?" Vanessa smiled, slow and dangerous. "Nothing. Yet." The phone buzzed violently on the nightstand, jolting Emma awake. Before she could reach it, Ryan Hale snatched it up first. His tone was sharp, his eyes cold. "Who's calling you at this hour?" "It's the school," she murmured, still half asleep. "They're confirming my charity visit tomorrow." Ryan's smirk was thin and dangerous. "Charity? Without my approval?" He tossed the phone aside, the screen cracking as it hit the oak floor. "Ryan, you can't keep—" "I can and I will." His voice dropped lower. "You don't understand what obedience means, Emma. You need to learn it." The room fell silent except for the wind howling outside. He turned away, adjusting his cufflinks like a man preparing for war. "Paul will handle your schedule from now on," he said. Moments later, Paul Rivers, a timid young man in a gray suit, entered with a leather folder. He worked as Ryan's private assistant, quiet and loyal, too loyal. "Morning, Mrs. Hale," Paul said carefully, placing legal documents on the table. "Mr. Hale needs your signature on these for accounting purposes." Emma frowned, flipping through the pages. These are property transfers. Why is my name missing? Ryan didn't blink. It's standard practice. Simplifies taxes. You'll thank me later. Her eyes scanned the fine print. There it was again, her signature, forged in black ink. Ryan, she whispered, holding up the papers. You signed. My name. That's illegal. He laughed, low and mocking. You're being paranoid, Emma. You signed it last week, remember? Or are you forgetting things again? The word paranoid hit her like ice. He'd used it before every time she caught him lying. Every time he wanted her to question her own mind. Vanessa Cole entered, perfume, thick and sweet. Oh, Emma, she said, voice dripping with pity. You really should rest. You look unstable. Gaslighting. That's what Clara, her old friend and lawyer, once called it. Emma remembered the warning. Men like him rewrite truth until you forget your own. The walls of the grand house felt smaller now, the air thinner. Ryan leaned against the window, staring out at the snow beginning to fall. This estate only means something if you know your place. You should be grateful, Emma. Most women would beg for this life. Her pulse raced. Most women wouldn't live like a prisoner. Ryan turned slowly, his eyes cold. Careful what you say or I'll cut you off completely. Foreshadow flash, Paul shifted nervously, avoiding her gaze. His hand brushed the folder again. A faint red fingerprint smeared across it from when Emma's cut finger had bled earlier that morning. That print would become her silent witness later. Ryan poured himself champagne, smirking. Go on, sign them. Be a good wife. Emma met his eyes and whispered, Not this time. Paul's phone buzzed, a message flashed briefly on screen before he silenced it. It read, Documents sent to Hale Group. Transfer live in 48 hours. Emma saw it. Her blood ran cold. The morning sun hit the frosted window of the downtown bank, casting dull light on the marble floor. Emma Hale's heart pounded as she handed her bank card to the teller. I'd like to withdraw $5,000, please. Mrs. Lacey, a kind woman in her 50s with tired eyes, smiled politely. Of course, ma'am. She typed Emma's details into the screen. A small pause. Then her face changed. I'm sorry, Mrs. Hale. Your card was declined. Emma frowned. That can't be right. Try again. Mrs. Lacey nodded, swiped again. I'm sorry. Another card declined. The words echoed like thunder. Emma's stomach twisted. Could you check my account balance? The teller hesitated, lowered her voice. It says here your accounts were recently transferred to an entity called Hale Group Holdings. The authorized signatory is Ryan Hale. Emma's throat tightened. That's my husband. He had no right. Those are my savings. Mrs. Lacey's eyes softened. I'm truly sorry, ma'am. But your name, it's been removed. It's gone. Emma stumbled back, the room spinning. Her pulse roared louder than the city noise outside. She pulled out her phone, dialing Ryan with trembling hands. He answered on the first ring, voice calm, practiced, poisonous. Good morning, sweetheart. Running errands. You transferred everything, she shouted. Every account, every cent with my name. A quiet chuckle. Calm down, Emma. You're overreacting. You still have the house. The house? Her voice cracked. The one you forged papers for? His tone hardened. Don't accuse me of forgery again. You sound unstable. Maybe this will teach you to stop questioning me. Her knuckles whitened. You can't just erase me. I already did, he said coldly. You don't belong in this world without me. Every penny you have comes from me anyway. Then the line went dead. Emma's knees nearly gave out. The bank lights glowed warm and golden, but she felt frozen, frostbitten to the core. She turned toward Mrs. Lacey, whispering, Please tell me there's a mistake. The woman hesitated, then quietly printed a paper slip and slid it forward. At the bottom, in small letters, account closed, transfer confirmed. A tear slipped down Emma's cheek as memories came. Rushing back the day she left her art job because Ryan insisted. The day he said, You don't need independence, you need loyalty. But deep inside the heartbreak, something sparked a quiet, stubborn fire. She remembered her late grandfather's warning, Keep the family deeds safe, Emma. It protects more than walls. In her mind, the words connected like lightning. The deed, her maiden name, the estate's original registration. He hadn't known about that hidden vault under her grandfather's attorney's name. Emma wiped her tears. He thinks he owns everything, but he doesn't own me. Lacey leaned closer, whispering, I shouldn't say this, but there's a note attached to one of the transfers. It says, initiated by Vanessa Cole, authorized by Ryan Hale. Emma's eyes widened. Vanessa, his assistant? The teller nodded nervously. Emma grabbed the receipt, heart pounding. Then they both just declared war. She turned toward the glass door and saw a reflection behind her. A man in a black suit watching her leave. The grand ballroom pulsed with music, laughter, and camera flashes. Glasses clinked, champagne shimmered in crystal, and every smile felt rehearsed. Ryan Hale stood at the center, surrounded by investors and socialites, his smirk sharp enough to slice the air. Beside him, Vanessa Cole glittered in a red gown the same color Emma once wore to their wedding anniversary. And across the hall, unnoticed at first, stood Emma Hale alone. No invitation, no escort, just truth burning in her eyes. Ryan raised his glass high. To new beginnings, he declared, voice echoing across marble floors. To the people who truly belong here. His eyes met Emma's. The crowd followed his gaze. The lights glowed warm and golden, but the air turned icy. The whispers began immediately. Is that his wife? Didn't they separate? He replaced her with his assistant? Emma froze. Their laughter rolled over her like thunder. Vanessa leaned into Ryan, brushing his shoulder lightly. His hand rested easily on her waist. You should have stayed home, Vanessa murmured loud enough for those near her to hear. Ryan tilted his glass toward Emma, mocking. Some people don't understand when a chapter ends. The humiliation hit harder than the storm outside. Snow clawed at her face through the glass windows, a cruel reflection of the chaos inside. Emma stood still, spine straight, jaw tight. You embarrassed me in front of my family, she said quietly, her voice trembling but clear. Ryan's smile didn't waver. Maybe this will teach you your place, the guest gasped softly. Cameras flashed. The reporter from the Daily Chronicle, a young woman named Kara Miles, watched closely from the back, recording every moment. Her instincts told her there was more to this story. Emma's reflection appeared in the ballroom mirror. Pale, fragile, small, invisible, worthless. But in her eyes, a spark glowed. She had proof of his lies, forged documents, property transfers, signatures that didn't match. But tonight wasn't about revenge. It was about letting him expose himself. She lifted her chin. Careful, Ryan, she said softly. The higher you climb, the harder the fall. For the first time, his smirk faltered. Vanessa touched his arm. Ignore her, she whispered. She's just bitter. Emma turned toward the exit. Every step slow, deliberate, regal. Like a queen leaving her throne before burning the palace down. The crowd parted in silence as she passed. At the doorway, Kara Miles called out gently, Mrs. Hale? Emma paused. Kara handed her a discreet white card. Daily Chronicle, Investigations Unit. If you ever want your side told, she said quietly, we listen. Emma accepted it without a word, eyes glistening. As she stepped outside, the wind howled again, snow swirling in silver ribbons. She didn't look back. Inside, Vanessa's laughter returned, but Ryan's attention stayed on the window. Outside, through the glass, he saw something, a black car idling under the frost, headlights dim. A man in a gray coat inside, phone in hand, watching him. Ryan's hand froze mid-toast. Who is that? He muttered. Vanessa blinked. What's wrong? He didn't answer, because for the first time, he felt what Emma once felt, cold. As Emma walked into the cold night, her phone buzzed, an unknown number, flashing a message that read, I used to practice law. You're not alone. Emma's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. One notification after another flashed across the cracked screen like a storm of humiliation. Unstable wife attacks her husband at gala. Emma Hale caught stalking Ryan and Vanessa. Pray for my family, read the caption beneath Ryan's smiling face. Her breath hitched. Her name was trending for all the wrong reasons. She scrolled faster. Photos of her leaving the grand ballroom were everywhere, edited to look wild, desperate. Fake text messages circulated, online threats she never sent. News blogs called her pathetic, obsessed, dangerous. The worst part? The account posting them belonged to Chloe Adams, Ryan's social media manager, the same woman who used to send Emma sweet birthday messages. Emma slammed her laptop shut, trembling. "He's destroying me," she whispered. The apartment she'd rented with the last cash she had was barely heated. She sat on the floor, wrapped in a thin blanket, the only light coming from her phone's glow. The wind howled outside, carrying the sound of passing sirens. Her heart felt as frozen as the city beyond the frosted window. Her name was gone. Online, in banks, even in charity records. The woman who once hosted galas under golden chandeliers was now a ghost on every platform. Her mind replayed Ryan's words, "You don't belong here." He had gaslighted her until even her own. A reflection looked like a lie. Every time she posted something to defend herself, he countered it with another story, another fake photo, another post about his unstable wife. Emma opened her messages, desperate for a single person who believed her. None. Only silence. She whispered to herself, "They wanted me erased." And they did. A loud knock broke the stillness. She flinched. No one knew where she lived. She crept to the frosted glass window, heart pounding. It wasn't Ryan, it was the mail courier, dropping a thick envelope through the slot. Inside were medical records, her hospital visit after the snowstorm, labeled frostbite, domestic abandonment case. She froze. Who sent this? Then her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "I used to practice law. You're not alone." Her eyes widened. She typed quickly, "Who is this?" No reply. She leaned back, the paper trembling in her hand. For the first time in weeks, a tiny spark flickered in her chest hope. She replayed every betrayal in her mind. The forged signatures, the cut-off cards, the public humiliation, the online smear. Each one wasn't just cruelty, it was evidence. And if someone out there wanted to help her gather it, maybe this wasn't the end. The phone buzzed again. This time, another message appeared. "Check your email. Start recording everything." Emma opened her laptop slowly. A file was downloading automatically. Its name read, "Proof Ryan Hale Transfers, Confidential, PDF." Her eyes filled with tears as the loading bar crawled across the screen. She whispered, "Maybe the storm didn't end me. Maybe it's just beginning for him." The next morning, a woman would knock at Emma's door, one who once defended others in court but lost everything herself. And together, they would begin to build a case. The pounding on the door was relentless. Emma jolted awake, heart racing. She gripped a kitchen knife, still half wrapped in her thin blanket, the apartment dark, except for the faint orange glow from the frosted window. "Who's there?" she shouted. A calm voice replied, "My name's Clara Reed. I'm the one who texted you. Please open the door." Emma hesitated, the memory of Ryan's threats flashing in her mind. She unlocked the chain slowly, the metal clicking like thunder in the silence. Outside stood a woman in her late 30s, soaked from the storm, a worn coat draped around her shoulders. Her eyes were tired but kind. "You're Emma Hale," she said softly. "I've been following your case." Emma lowered the knife slightly. "Case? What case?" Clara stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "The one your husband built against you online. I used to practice law before my license was suspended for defending the wrong person. Now I help women who've been erased." Clara glanced around the small room boxes, unpaid bills, medical records from the frostbite incident stacked on the table. "You kept everything," she said. "I didn't know what else to do," Emma whispered. "He's turned everyone against me. My parents, my friends, the whole internet. He even said I was unstable." Clara sat down, brushing wet snow from her hair. "That's gaslighting, Emma. He's rewriting the truth until you can't tell what's real. But there's one thing men like him can't hide: evidence." She pulled out a small recorder. "We start now. Recording everything. Emails, receipts, screenshots, property transfers, every trail he left behind. Men like him always leave evidence." Emma hesitated. "What if he finds out? Then he'll know you're done being silent." For the first time in weeks, Emma felt her hands steady. Clara's confidence was like warmth against the cold. Nurse Tanya Brooks, a friend from the women's shelter, knocked gently and stepped in with tea. "You're safe now," she said. "We'll protect you." Tanya placed a gentle hand on Emma's shoulder. "You're not the first woman he's hurt. but you can be the last. Emma's throat tightened. Why are you helping me? Clara smiled faintly. Because years ago, I was you. Silence filled the room. Outside, the wind howled, shaking the window pane. Clara opened Emma's laptop and scanned the downloaded file. Her eyes widened. Emma, this isn't just personal abuse. It's financial fraud on a corporate level. If we connect these bank withdrawals and forged signatures, the authorities won't just arrest him. They'll dismantle his empire. Emma's voice trembled. Then let's bring him down. Clara turned the laptop around. A second document had appeared on the screen, one they hadn't opened. It was titled, Ryan Hale Private Recordings, MP4. The cursor hovered over it. Do you know what this is? Clara whispered. Emma stared, her pulse racing. No, but I think someone wants us to find out. Later that night, as Clara slept, Emma replayed the file name over and over. Private recordings? She didn't know yet that the voice she'd hear inside it would change everything, and that it wouldn't just be Ryan's. The laptop screen flickered in the dim shelter office as the storm outside raged with white fury. Emma pressed play on the file labeled Ryan Hale Private Recordings, MP4. For a moment, there was only static. Then a familiar voice sliced through the noise. Ryan's voice. Vanessa, make sure those property transfers go through by Friday. Once Emma's name is off, we'll liquidate the assets through Drake's offshore account. Emma's hand shook. Her breath caught. The voice continued. If anyone asks, she signed everything willingly. We'll say she's unstable. Same story, same performance. Clara's eyes widened. He recorded this himself. Probably forgot it synced to the cloud. That arrogance might save you, Emma. Emma froze, tears streaming silently. He wanted the world to think I was insane. Now the world will see who he really is, Clara said. Outside, snow clawed at the windows, the wind screaming like the ghosts of every woman Ryan had broken. Emma sat back in the chair, her reflection faint in the frosted glass. The cold wasn't the worst part, she thought. It was knowing he'd planned my destruction like a business deal. Clara clicked open another folder within the drive, dozens of emails, receipts, and screenshots. Each one traced the same pattern. Bank withdrawals, forged documents, asset agreements, and fake legal authorizations. This is a gold mine, Clara whispered. Enough to bring down a CEO. A knock startled them both. Grace Miller, the shelter coordinator, entered with a tall man behind her. Emma, this is Noah Lane, an investigative journalist from the Daily Chronicle. He's been covering corruption cases for years. Noah extended his hand, firm but cautious. I've seen the news about you. I didn't believe it. That's why I'm here. I want to help tell the truth. Emma hesitated, remembering how every headline had mocked her. Why would you help me? Because people like Ryan thrive on silence, he said. I don't like silence. Grace placed a warm cup of tea in Emma's hands. You're safe now, she said gently. And you're not alone. Together, they began compiling the evidence, connecting emails, tracing offshore accounts, highlighting every forged signature. Noah documented every detail, muttering, We'll need a timeline, dates, amounts, witnesses. Clara nodded. We need a pattern. Once we prove this wasn't just abuse but fraud, federal authorities will take over. The heater rattled. Outside, the snow fell heavier, turning the city into a quiet battlefield. Emma looked up from the files. If this goes public, he'll fight back. Clara smiled faintly. Then make sure you hit first. Noah's phone buzzed. He frowned. That's strange. He turned the screen toward them. A new message had appeared from an encrypted email. I have the rest of the recordings. Meet me at the old hotel on Winter Street. Midnight. Don't tell anyone. Emma's eyes widened. Who sent it? Noah's voice was tight. No name, but the attachment reads, Vanessa Cole, MP4. The room went silent. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows as if the storm itself knew what was coming. At midnight, Emma will step into that old hotel, unaware that the woman waiting in the shadows, Vanessa Cole, isn't just there to confess, she's there to survive. The wind howled through the open doors of the grand ballroom, sending flakes of snow spiraling onto the marble floor. Outside, a blizzard painted the night white. Inside, golden lights shimmered, music swelled, and laughter echoed beneath towering chandeliers. Ryan Hale stood center stage in a tuxedo, raising a crystal glass. To love, he said smugly, and to a future built on truth. Vanessa Cole, his fiancée now, glittered beside him in diamonds and red silk. Cameras flashed, glasses clinked, and at that very moment, hidden among the catering staff, Emma Hale entered, wearing a simple black coat, her face half-shadowed, her eyes sharp as ice. Slow down into reflection. She paused near the mirrored wall, watching the scene that used to be hers, the same chandeliers, the same laughter, but this time, she was invisible by choice. This was her home, her home. The man who once called her wife was now toasting his betrayal, mocking every shiver of pain he'd caused her. She looked across the room and saw Clara Reed standing discreetly by the piano, phone in hand, recording everything. Beside her, Noah Lane adjusted a hidden mic, whispering, "We're live. The public feed is rolling." Ryan's voice boomed through the hall. "People ask how I built this empire," he said, smiling toward Vanessa. "The answer is simple: discipline and loyalty." The crowd cheered, raising their glasses high. Emma clenched her jaw. Discipline? Loyalty? The words tasted bitter. Her eyes caught movement near the back of the stage. A shadow. A woman. Vanessa Cole. But her smile was gone. Her hands trembled. She was reading something on her phone, a message Emma had sent an hour earlier. "Meet me before midnight. I know what you did, but I also know what he did to you." The music softened. Vanessa stepped forward suddenly, her voice shaky. "Ryan, there's something you should see." Ryan frowned. "Not now." But she didn't stop. She turned toward the guests, her face pale. "Before we celebrate loyalty, maybe we should define it." She pulled a USB drive from her clutch and held it up. "This contains emails, receipts, and recordings, proof of the forged documents, the bank withdrawals, and the fraud he ordered." Gasps rippled across the room. Cameras flashed. Glasses clinked nervously. Ryan's smirk vanished. Emma stepped into the light, removing her catering badge. "You didn't think the woman you erased would stay silent forever, did you?" Ryan froze. "You! How dare you come here?" Emma's tone was calm. "You locked me out during a storm. Now I'm the one bringing the weather." The ballroom doors burst open. Federal authorities stormed in, badges flashing under the chandelier lights. "Ryan Hale," one agent called, "you're under investigation for fraud, forgery, and tax evasion." Chaos erupted. Guests backed away. Reporters shouted questions. Vanessa dropped the mic, trembling as agents surrounded them. Ryan's voice broke through the noise. "This is a setup!" But before anyone could answer, Vanessa whispered to an officer, "I'll cooperate. Just get me out of here." Emma's eyes locked on hers. A silent understanding passed between them. Both victims, both survivors. As Ryan was led away in handcuffs, he turned back toward Emma, shouting, "You think this is over? You don't know what's hidden in that house." Her blood ran cold because she did know, and it was about to surface. The mansion's doors creaked open again, this time under the sharp beam of federal flashlights. Snow drifted in behind the agents, melting against the marble floor like quiet ghosts. Emma Hale stepped forward beside Agent Harris, clutching a folder marked Evidence, Hale Group Holdings. "Everything you'll find here connects Ryan Hale's personal accounts to offshores," she said, her voice steady. But he wasn't alone. From the shadows near the staircase, Mr. Drake, Ryan's longtime financial advisor, appeared in a dark coat. His smirk was calm, too calm. "Mrs. Hale," he said politely, "you shouldn't be here. This is federal property now." Emma didn't flinch. "This was my home. My home." For a moment, silence filled the house. The lights glowed warm and golden, reflecting off portraits of a life she no longer recognized. She remembered holidays by the fireplace, her late grandfather's voice reminding her, "The truth always leaves a trail." That trail now wound through this house, hidden ledgers, forged documents, and the secret vault Ryan thought no one would ever find. Clara Reed, standing beside her, opened her laptop. "Agent Harris, this is what we have so far. Emails, receipts, signatures, and bank withdrawals tied directly to Mr. Drake's authorization." Harris scanned the files. "That's enough to open a full financial crime investigation." Mr. Drake chuckled. "You think a few papers will destroy a dynasty?" Emma met his gaze coldly. "No, But the recordings, the property transfers, and your offshore accounts will. At her signal, Noah Lane stepped forward, connecting a small device to the central monitor in the study. The giant screen flickered to life, video clips, statements, and Ryan's voice echoing. Drake, will handle the rest. If she signs, it's clean. If not, we forge it. Mr. Drake's calm cracked. You can't use illegally obtained files. Clara smiled faintly. They were obtained legally under the name still registered to Emma Hale, the rightful owner of this estate. The agent's radio buzzed. Headquarters confirms. Proceed. Mr. Drake lunged for the door, but two agents blocked him, badges flashing under the chandelier. His words broke into a growl. You'll all regret this. Emma stood firm. You already do. For the first time, she felt warmth instead of fear. The storm that had once exiled her now raged for justice. The woman who had been called unstable, pathetic, and worthless was now the one holding the truth. Agent Harris turned toward her. Mrs. Hale, you just helped us take down an entire fraud network. But this, he pointed toward a sealed vault in the study wall. This isn't listed anywhere. Did you know about it? Emma froze. Her grandfather's words echoed again. If the world turns against you, remember what I hid for you. She stepped forward, fingertips brushing the steel. That's what he was afraid of, she whispered. The vault clicked open slowly. Inside lay a box wrapped in faded gold ribbon, marked with her maiden initials. Beneath it, a single document sealed in wax. Clara leaned closer. What is it? Emma's voice trembled. Proof of ownership. Not just of the house, but the entire Hale estate worth $80 million. As the vault door shut behind her, Emma didn't notice the camera light still blinking in the corner someone else was watching remotely. And in a penthouse across town, Ryan Hale smiled through his bruised lip and whispered, Let her think she's won. The wind howled against the glass walls of the city penthouse, carrying the last echo of the storm that had torn through Ryan Hale's empire. Rainwater streaked down the windows like veins of guilt. Ryan slammed his fist on the marble counter, shattering a glass of champagne. They think they've won, he hissed. They think this is over. Vanessa Cole, dressed in silk but trembling, stood by the balcony. Ryan, they have the recordings, the emails, the forged documents, everything. The feds froze your accounts. You should leave the country while you still can. Ryan turned sharply, his smirk half mad, half defiant. Leave! This is my empire! She can't take it from me! He pointed toward the frosted window, his reflection fractured. That woman was nothing before me. A charity case. I made her. Maybe, Vanessa whispered, but now she owns everything. He grabbed her wrist, voice low and venomous. You listen to me, Emma Hale will crawl before this ends. Vanessa pulled free, rubbing her wrist. You don't understand, Ryan. She's not the same woman you threw out in the snow. She has people now. That lawyer, Clara Reed. The journalist, Noah Lane. Even the federal authorities believe her. Ryan's jaw clenched. He walked toward his desk and pulled open a drawer, revealing a small black drive labeled Vault Cam. His voice turned cold. Do you think I didn't know she'd find the vault? Every inch of that house is wired. I saw her open it. Vanessa froze. You watched her? I built that mansion, he said proudly. Every room, every hidden corner. She's sitting on a ticking bomb of her own making. Paul Rivers, his assistant, entered quietly, eyes darting nervously. Sir, the feds are combing through your digital trail. They've traced one of your shell companies to this address. Ryan waved him off. Let them. By the time they arrive, this will be over. Paul hesitated, guilt flickering in his eyes. You told me we were protecting assets, not laundering money. Ryan leaned in close. You think loyalty ends when things get hard? You'll stay quiet, or you'll go down with me. Paul swallowed hard, nodding, but his fingers trembled as he adjusted his watch, a silent recorder blinking red. Vanessa watched it too, her fear shifting into calculation. She stepped closer to Ryan. If they find that drive, you'll go to prison for life. He smiled darkly. Then maybe I'll take her down with me. I still have what matters most control. He inserted the Vault Cam drive into his laptop. The footage appeared instantly. Emma, standing in the vault, holding the sealed document that proved her ownership. Ryan's voice dropped to a whisper. That's my leverage. And she doesn't even know I have it. Suddenly, the screen glitched. The video rewound on its own. Then Emma's voice, calm and icy, came through the speakers. I know you're watching, Ryan. And this time, I'm recording you. The laptop screen went black. The lights flickered, plunging the penthouse into near darkness. Ryan's glass slipped from his hand, shattering. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Far below the penthouse, Agent Harris's convoy sped through the snow. Beside him sat Emma, calm and silent. We're going to end this, she whispered. But not just for me, for every woman he erased. The next stop was the mansion. And this time, Ryan wouldn't be locking any doors. The mansion gates burst open under flashing red and blue lights. Federal authorities stormed in, their badges flashing as snow swirled through the night air. Wind howled against the tall pillars, the same sound that once echoed when Ryan had locked her out of the house. Only this time, Emma Hale walked through those doors not as a victim, but as the woman reclaiming her power. Inside, Ryan Hale stood frozen by the staircase, pale under the golden chandelier. Vanessa Cole stood beside him, her red gown torn, mascara streaked from tears. The lights glowed warm and golden, but the air was tense, sharp, metallic, filled with panic. Agent Harris stepped forward. Ryan Hale, you are under arrest for fraud, forgery, and financial misconduct. You have the right to remain silent. Ryan laughed bitterly. This is a setup. She's framing me. His voice cracked with desperation. Emma took a slow step forward, her voice calm. No, Ryan. You framed yourself the moment you thought you could erase me. The moment felt suspended, every second heavy with years of humiliation. The dining hall beyond the staircase glimmered faintly, its polished silverware and glass untouched since the night he'd mocked her. Memories came rushing back, his voice calling her pathetic. The click of the heavy oak door, the sting of the blizzard as he watched from inside. Now the same door stood open behind her, snow drifting across the floor like justice finally walking in. Vanessa's voice trembled. Ryan, I told them everything. The property transfers, the emails, the forged signatures, it's all true. Ryan turned on her, rage burning in his eyes. You backstabbing liar. He lunged forward, but Agent Harris caught him mid-step, twisting his arms behind his back. The cold snap of handcuffs echoed through the hall. Emma's gaze didn't waver. You took everything from me, my name, my dignity, my peace. But you forgot something, Ryan. He spat the words. What could you possibly have left? She held up the sealed gold-ribbon document she'd retrieved from the vault. The estate deed, under my maiden name. You were living in my house, spending my inheritance, and you never even knew. His smirk froze. The reality sank in. That's impossible, he whispered. Emma's voice was soft but sharp. My grandfather protected me long before you tried to destroy me. Agent Harris read Ryan his rights as the officers began collecting evidence. Vanessa turned toward Emma, tears glistening. I didn't know what he planned at first. I swear I just wanted to survive. Emma looked at her for a long moment, then said quietly, Then prove it. Testify. Vanessa nodded. I already have. As Ryan was led toward the police car, he turned to Emma, voice shaking with hatred. You think this is over? You have no idea what's buried under this house. Emma's eyes narrowed. Then I'll dig until I find it. The door slammed. Snow gusted inside, scattering across the marble floor like broken glass. Behind her, Agent Harris said, Ma'am, there's one more sealed room in the basement. It wasn't on the blueprints. Emma's voice was calm. Then that's where we start. As Emma followed Agent Harris toward the basement, her heart pounded. She didn't know yet that what lay behind that hidden door wasn't gold or documents, it was proof of something darker. Something that could rewrite everything she thought she knew about her family. Cameras flashed across the federal courtroom like lightning. The hum of voices filled the air, restless and sharp. Emma Hale sat at the witness table, hands folded tightly, heart pounding like a drum. To her left sat Clara Reed, eyes steady and calm. Across the room, Ryan Hale in a gray suit, now wrinkled and defeated, sat behind the defense bench, flanked by his new attorney. His face was pale, but the old smirk still tried to surface. At the front, the federal judge, a woman with stern eyes and a clear voice, struck her gavel. Court is in session. Case number 318, the state versus Ryan Hale. Charges include fraud, forgery, and financial abuse. Gasps echoed through the packed room. Reporters scribbled notes. Among them, Noah Lane, now an official media correspondent for the Daily Chronicle, adjusted his mic, whispering into it. This is the trial that's shaken the city to its core. Emma's gaze shifted toward Vanessa Cole, sitting across the aisle, her hands trembling as she held a sworn statement. The woman who once mocked her now looked broken. When Vanessa spoke, her voice cracked. He made me lie. He told me if I didn't help forge her signature, he'd ruin me too. He said we could take everything she had. Ryan slammed his hand on the table. You're lying! The judge's gavel struck again. One more outburst, mister. Hale, and I'll hold you in contempt. Emma inhaled slowly, grounding herself. Every humiliation, the snowstorm, the mocking laughter, the cold door was now evidence. She lifted a small silver flash drive from the folder before her. Your Honor, she said clearly, this contains recordings, emails, and receipts of every forged document and bank withdrawal linked to Mr. Hale. It proves he not only defrauded the company but used my identity to do it. The judge leaned forward. This will be submitted into evidence. Clara Reed stood. Your Honor, we have one final piece of evidence, Ryan Hale's personal recording, recovered from his vault. The courtroom projector flickered to life. Ryan's voice filled the room. If she finds the deed, I'll forge another. No one will believe her. She's just the unstable wife I made her out to be. The room fell silent. Reporters looked up, stunned. Ryan's smirk froze, replaced by panic. His lawyer sank back in defeat. The federal judge removed her glasses. Mr. Hale, based on the evidence presented, this court finds you guilty of multiple counts of fraud and identity manipulation. You will serve 15 years in federal custody. A sob escaped Vanessa. Clara reached for Emma's hand. Ryan turned toward Emma as officers approached to cuff him. You think you've won? This house, this legacy, it's cursed. You'll see. Emma's voice was calm. Cursed or not, it's mine now. The judge's gavel struck again, finality echoing like thunder. As the crowd erupted, Noah Lane whispered into his recorder, "Justice for the erased." But as Emma stepped out of the courtroom into the blinding light, a reporter ran up holding a file. Mrs. Hale, he said breathlessly, "You need to see this. It's about your grandfather and the real source of the estate's fortune." Emma froze, sunlight reflecting off the paper. The headline read, "New evidence suggests the Hale family inheritance was built on fraud before Ryan ever touched it." Emma gripped the headline tightly, the paper fluttering in the wind. Behind her, the courthouse doors closed, but ahead lay another truth buried deeper than Ryan's crimes. The mansion's walls still held secrets her grandfather never meant her to find. The mansion's heavy oak doors swung open once more, but this time not to sirens or wind howling, they opened to applause. The lights glowed warm and golden, reflecting off new nameplates that read, Hale Foundation for Women's Renewal. Golden chandeliers now lighting halls filled with laughter, support, and second chances. Emma Hale stood in the grand foyer, microphone trembling in her hands. Behind her, banners waved in gentle rhythm, and cameras flashed like lightning. Noah Lane from the Daily Chronicle stood near the back, recording every word. "This house once represented power," Emma began, her voice firm. "But power built on pain crumbles. So today, we rebuild not for wealth, not for reputation, but for the women who were told they were nothing. Because we are everything." Her words hung in the air. Grace Miller, the general shelter coordinator, stepped forward, tears glistening in her eyes. "You turned your nightmare into hope, Emma," she said. "You opened your doors to women like us." Emma smiled softly. No one else should ever stand outside these doors, begging to be let in. Vanessa Cole watched from the side, her face pale but peaceful. She had been the symbol of betrayal, but today, she stood among the volunteers, handing out warm coats. "I can't undo what I did," she said quietly to Clara, "but I can help heal what he broke." Clara Reed, steady as ever, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Redemption doesn't erase the past," she said, "but it rewrites the ending." The hall buzzed with reporters asking questions, snapping photos and recording video. Emma turned toward the portrait of her late grandfather, now hanging in the restored dining hall. "You protected me, even when I didn't know it," she whispered. "But now, it's my turn to protect others." Noah Lane approached her with a solemn look. Emma, I finished the follow-up piece, he said quietly. Your grandfather's wealth wasn't built on fraud, it was built on cover-ups. He used shell accounts to hide women he helped escape abusive husbands. Ryan thought it was corruption, but it was protection. Emma's eyes widened, tears forming. He was saving them all along. Noah nodded. And now, you're finishing what he started. Emma turned to the crowd once more. This place will never again be a palace for cruelty. It will be a shelter, a home for the erased. Because from now on, this house belongs to hope. The crowd erupted in cheers. But as applause filled the hall, the lights flickered. A quiet hush spread. One of the children, a small girl holding a worn toy, looked up at Emma and asked, Miss Emma, who's that man in the window? Emma froze. Slowly, she turned toward the frosted glass. Outside, through the drifting snow, a dark figure stood near the gate, motionless. Watching, Clara whispered, It can't be. The camera flash caught the shadow's outline, familiar, haunting, impossible. Emma's voice trembled. Lock the doors. The crowd never saw the man vanish into the storm. Only Emma did. And as snow began to fall again, she realized some storms don't end. They return to test if you've truly healed.